Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee is in Oakland, California. She is also the former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Thanks for being with us, Congresswoman.
My pleasure. Glad to be with you.
So you are one of at least 30 House Democrats planning to skip inauguration Friday. What constructively can come of boycotting the event?
Well, first, let me just say today, of course, we're celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's life and legacy. And it's important to recognize that in times of controversy, for example, some of us have to speak the truth and talk about why we are not celebrating at an event such as the inauguration of the president, which is a celebratory event. I support and respect the peaceful transfer of power, the office of the presidency, and we know that Donald Trump will be sworn in as president. But based on the divisive campaign that was run as it relates to the denigration of women and immigrants, having a nominee such as Senator Jeff Sessions for the Attorney General, who has a record of opposing equal justice under the law, and for many, many reasons, I cannot celebrate. And while I respect this inauguration and the peaceful transfer of power, for me, that would not be something I could do in good conscience.
As you know, Congresswoman, there's been a lot of talk of bridging the partisan divide that was really exacerbated during the election cycle. But how will skipping the inauguration get things off on the right foot?
Again, I am not attending the inauguration because for me, personally, this is celebrating. And I am not celebrating, for example, an effort to take away 20 million, take away health care from 20 million people. I'm not celebrating the fact that we know that Russia, a foreign power, interfered in the elections. And so for me personally, I will be doing other things in terms of helping to organize opposition and resistance to what could be a very divisive agenda going forward. I haven't seen or heard anything yet from the president-elect that he wants to unify the country and wants to speak to the aspirations of each and every American, whether they be low income, whether they be poor, middle income. He represents, you know, an agenda that's going to be for the rich and the wealthy. And for me personally, that's not something to celebrate.
Let me turn to this. Congressman Lewis said that Mr. Trump's presidency is not legitimate due to Russia's interference in the election. Do you agree?
I know you want a simple yes or no answer, but quite frankly, we have to know what the truth is, and the truth still hasn't been determined. We know for a fact that a Russian power that the Russian government, interfered in our elections. We know that Russia is a foreign power, and John Lewis has raised some very serious concerns. And so we need to have a bipartisan investigation. The American people deserve to know what took place and make the determination at that point. At this point, we do not know because we have not had this investigation to expose and give us the facts.
If they find no wrongdoing, will you then accept Donald Trump as the president?
We have to have this commission, and the American people have to be able to know what exactly took place. And so that's what I'm very focused on now, is getting this legislation passed to set up the bipartisan commission, because people deserve to know whether or not a foreign government interfered in our democratic process.
I understand you have questions. There are, however, as you well know, several Democrats, including President Obama's own chief of staff, who disagreed with Congressman Lewis, saying they're unnecessary. We heard from Chief of Staff Denis McDonough saying that, in fact, President-elect Trump was freely elected. How do you respond to that?
Well, people have their points of views. This is a democracy. I was one who protested the certification of the Electoral College a couple of weeks ago on the floor when Vice President Biden presided. And basically, I believe it was 6 of us who did that because we wanted to talk about and have a debate with regard to a foreign power, Russia, interfering in our government, which the intelligence community has already told us that it was on the side of Donald Trump. I am not attending the inauguration because I am upset about the outcome. I'm not talking about who won or who did not win. I'm talking about a process that could be very dangerous if, in fact, Russian influence dictated the result of our democratic process here in America.
You touched on this a moment ago, Congresswoman, but do you think Congress needs to do more beyond the Senate Intel Committee's investigation?
In the House, we have legislation pending proposed by Congressman Swalwell and Cummins that would establish an independent bipartisan commission. And while I believe all investigations in this instance are extremely important, because this is very serious in terms of the moment we're in terms of our history and in terms of our democracy. And so we need as many investigations as possible. But I hope that the bipartisan legislation that I believe all Democrats have supported will pass and become law so that we can have this investigation.
Looking down the road a bit, do you think it's at all possible for Democrats in Congress to work with the Trump administration?
That's going to be up to President-elect Trump and hopefully the divisiveness of his campaign, and very recently, talking about Congressman Lewis not doing only about talk rather than action. I think that it's going to be up to us to make sure that we work together, but that no foreign power interferes with Democrats and Republicans working together. And that's my main concern right now. But I certainly believe we need to unify the country, and I hope the president does that. And we're waiting to see if he does.
All right. Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California, thanks very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.